My name is Victor Hess. I'm a fiction author, and today I want to introduce you to my first book, Jesse Sings. It is the story of a young boy who yearns for his dad to quit gambling, to quit drinking, so he and his mom could enjoy the life of a normal family, something he has never seen. Jesse Sings has had many reviews, many of them very good. One review said this: "The story is told from that 8-year-old point of view, so it's simple, easy to read, and the story moves quickly. Perfect for a young reader who is fascinated by the way things used to be." At age 8, Jesse Hawes learned so much about life the hard way. His dad was an alcoholic and a gambler, and a loser. His mom was so depressed that she tried to end it all. The scene I'm about to read is a few months after that very low moment of their life. There's a character in here, Sally. You are about to meet her, and she only appears in this chapter. She doesn't even appear in my second book. She has impressed me, though, and haunted me so much that I'll be bringing her back in the third book of Jesse Hall's youth. I didn't name the chapters in Jesse Sings, but if I had, I would name Chapter 9, Sally. Jesse Sings, Chapter 9. By the way, this is set in the 1950s in rural Ohio. So I'll begin here in Chapter 9. By May, Mom's belly was protruding. More and more, Dad stayed away from the house, especially when the rent was due. Mom faced the landlord alone with story after story about why we needed one more week. She told him that Dad was out of town. We had doctor's bills, or even me being in the hospital, even though I wasn't. The milkman even stopped delivering milk. Mom sent me to a neighbor to borrow coffee, or another to borrow a glass of milk, and I even borrowed a can of soup, until neighbors said that if we were that poor, we should go on relief. When I told Mom what they said, she just sent me to another neighbor who didn't know us yet. Some of the houses on our block were not occupied, which probably explained why we hadn't been kicked out of our house yet. The street was full of for sale signs. Yards were full of weeds, including ours, but so long as we were living there, hobos and kids weren't going to tear up our landlord's house, and for that alone, we probably weren't kicked out. The house to the left of us had been vacant ever since we moved in. It had sheriff sale signs on it and was overgrown with tall, thick weeds. I chose it to escape their yelling one Sunday and used a heavy stick to hack out paths in the backyard. The weeds were high enough that when I finished, it was like a maze. Then when I got to the center, I hacked around a tree stump, leaving me a space the size of my bedroom. I sat on the stump, admiring my milkweed walls and enjoying the privacy. I could still hear stuff, but because no one could see me, it felt private. It took an hour of hacking for me to get it perfectly square. I heard Mom call a couple times, but I ignored her. It was here that I met Sally, a blonde girl my age, and fell in love for the first time. "Hello," she said, and I looked toward the voice. "Can I come in?" She peeked around a clump of milkweed. "Sure," I said. She was wearing a white dress with a fringe of yellow lace around the neck and sleeves. Her hair was combed back and held in place by a yellow plastic hairband. "This is keen. Did you make this?" she asked. She tilted her head and smiled, waiting for my answer. I stood up and moved away from the stump I was sitting on. She sat down on the stump. "I'm Sally. Are you Jesse?" she asked. "I think your mother is looking for you. She came to our house to use the phone." Her smile remained, but her eyes squinted with a look of concern. "Do you live around here?" I asked. She was all I was interested in at that moment. "We moved in the house across the street." She paused and looked around my outdoor room. "It's quiet here. I like it quiet." "Me too." "What grade are you in?" she asked. Until now our neighborhood had no other kids my age, just all toddlers and crying babies. It pleased me when she told me she was in the 3rd grade too. "Do you have any friends?" she asked. "I saw you at school. You always looked sad." My answer was trapped in my heart, because if I said yes, Sally would ask who they were, and I could not think of anyone but maybe cousins, who I may have seen all of 4 or 5 times. We moved so often that I don't remember any one individual that I could say was a friend, and I was sure they would not include my name on their list. I glanced away from her, searching for words. "I heard your mom arguing. Was that your dad who drove away?" My hacking must have drowned out the sounds of Mom and Dad's latest battle. "They argue a lot. That's why I made this place." "Why did Mom use your phone?" "I don't know. I came looking for you." Just then I heard Mom yelling for me. Sally looked around our room, like she didn't hear. I ignored Mom's voice. "Tell me about your place here." My soul rejoiced at her request. She stood up, and I knew that standing before me was the reason I had built the room. She listened as I told her about needing my own place to escape, and that it didn't take long to hack out the tall weeds that hid our chair. Without her asking, I described the fighting and the shame of my family's poverty. I described Dad's absence for days after payday, and coming back home on Sunday to Mom's anger and the line of landlords and neighbors and grocers looking for their money. She listened and reached for my hands, and we stood there facing each other. "Would you like to be my friend?" she asked with her soft voice and green, glistening eyes. "Your boyfriend?" My voice broke. "Yes. I'll be your girlfriend. We could get married and have children and take care of them." How could she have seen me at school and I miss seeing her? What could she possibly see in the pitifulness that my heart felt every day? She started picking sweet clover blossoms. "Help me pick some," she said, and I obeyed. The clover blossoms were white with a purplish center to them. My hands got sticky picking them. We turned the stump into an altar. She made a tiara out of the blossoms for her and a bracelet for me. Her touch energized me. We vowed that our children would not be pained by our greed, love of drink, or meanness. Grandpa Hall would have approved our vows. We kissed. She hugged on me tight and rested her head on my shoulder. Each touch was full of redemptive grace that lifted my cares and concerns, and here holding me was my first friend, a partner of vows. "Sally!" A woman's voice found its way over the milkweed walls and pierced our moment. "I have to go," Sally said. I held her hand tightly, but she used her other one to gently remove mine, kissed me on the cheek, and I was suddenly left alone in my outdoor room. The thought of seeing Sally the next day painted a smile on my face. I went home wearing my clover bracelet and rich in the sweet remembrance of knowing I now had a friend. Thank you for listening to that. Please check my website and my YouTube channel for other readings from Jesse Sings and the Clock Tower Treasure. Hope to see you again.